This resolution we got passed over to us, passed the other body yesterday. We got it this morning. We didn't really have time to have that time for drafting and amendments. My one colleague was a little faster than I, but honestly, in thinking about this, as any piece of legislation, I first considered the amendment process, but it's not worth amending. I mean, I'm gonna paraphrase one of my constituents, former as governor. There's no need to put lipstick on this pig. You know, the working group is not a good idea, period. It's just not a good idea. 90 days, 120 days here in session. And I don't want to be in session any further than I have to be. With permission to read, Madam President?
Permission granted.
No man's life or liberty or property are safe while we're in the legislature, by Gideon Tucker. The people of Alaska want to follow our work. If this resolution drags out the conversation throughout the year, all we're doing is kicking the can down the road yet again, Madam President. Some can say that. Some can say this is just a way to, as a stalling tactic, to go all the way down to the last draw and say, if you don't support my dividend, we don't get any dividend at all. Some can say that too, Madam President. Our work is hard enough to do during the regular session when people are expecting meetings to happen. But we are taking this PFD discussion behind the scenes of sorts. Yes, there will be conversations, there will be documents of those meetings, but some will say it's behind the scenes. It's not when the legislature is in session. They won't be posted to these meetings ahead of time. They don't know when things are going to happen. Some have said that it's summertime in Alaska, some will be fishing, some will be doing their other off-seasonal work, but the conversation, people just won't know. Debate is good when it's open. Open dialogue is good. Our constituents have the opportunity to follow our work is also good. With permission to read, Madam President?
Permission granted.
When the government fears its people, there's liberty. When the people fear its government, there's tyranny. And that's commonly contributed to Thomas Jefferson, but it's actually done by John Barnhill, quote, Madam President. There's no shame to having a little bit of fear of our folks of Alaska. We do represent them. We want to represent them well. We should not need to fear the need to try to lead our constituents or try to educate our constituents. They are intelligent folks. We represent doctors, lawyers, attorneys, other folks within our districts that have voted us to be here in office. We need to be honest with them, but we also need to be careful not to frame the message with our own biases. We can frame this message in several different ways, Madam President. Some folks have framed the message saying that the PFD is just a handout or a government entitlement program. Others have said the PFD is more of our oil wealth and mineral rights. There's many different ways that we can frame this message, but we just need to be open and honest with Alaskans as we move forward with this conversation. We are here to serve, I'm here to serve Alaskans despite their objections. There are very reasonable and more public alternatives to the solution, as another member has stated. You know, if other members feel this discussion is too big to carry on for session, we can have other meetings during the session. We can have other committee meetings. Any committee chairman can have a meeting and sort of have public discussions. We can have a bicameral State of Senate Affairs meeting. We can have a bicameral State of Senate Finance meetings. We have other opportunities to have this conversation in a more open dialogue than just 8 members of a 60-member legislature. And again, you know, we can meet during this time, but the working group is not a binding meeting. You know, one of the major issues I have there's no timeline for this House concurrent resolution. We don't know if it's going to take a month. We're not knowing it's going to take 2 months, 3 months. I would like timelines. I like deliverables. There's no deliverables in this timeline other than hoping that we get done by the time the deadline the Permanent Fund Corporation tells us we need to pay a dividend. That's our hope, that we can get this done in that time manner. I'm not sure that we can do that. What criteria are we going to use to assign these members? I'm not sure of that, and that's not really set forward in this a resolution either. We don't even have a consensus, a clear consensus in the Senate. We used to have a clear consensus when we passed over the operating budget to the other body. But as we saw for the past couple of weeks, we've been pretty split on this issue to get any manner of the discussion done. We all have our own opinions for our reasons of why we voted the way we voted. It's a difficult concept to build consensus on, but changing statutes takes 11 in this body and 21, not 4. I don't hold my stance because I'm uneducated or I need to have a working group. This is not an easy conversation, and it will never be an easy conversation. For almost 40 years, we've been trying to have this conversation on the future of the dividend, where we're going to go, the vote of the people. We've took a vote. We've taken different polls around the state, Madam President, and the message from the people has been clear. It's been clear and consistent. The only inconsistency I see today is the inconsistency of the legislature. Changing these statutes will not come with hard work, consensus building, and stakeholder involvement. A bicameral working group will not make this difficult conversation any bit easier. At the very least, I hope we can all see the irony in forming this working group. A non-binding working group to provide a non-binding recommendations to statutes which we repeatedly proven under no legal obligation we follow in the first place. If we want a real statewide discussion on this issue, then let's put it to the vote of the people. With that, I urge a no vote on this resolution.